Alright, this is a presentation for Frostburg State University and is about the Tor Network. So, introduction. The internet, as we all know, is a very, very big place. It is currently estimated that the size of the internet is about 4.76 billion pages. And an interesting comparison to that is the current Earth population was about 7.3 billion people. That just kind of gives you an idea of how big the internet really is. So here's kind of how most people visualize the entire internet with this giant iceberg back here. The surface web, that is what I was just talking about. That is the 4.76 billion pages. Those pages are indexed by your everyday search engines like Bing, Google, Yahoo, and Wikipedia is on there. And below the surface web, you have something called the deep web. The deep web is massive. It is huge. And you cannot accurately predict the size of the deep web because it's just so massive. And within the deep web, you have a lot of private servers and databases that have all this kind of information over here. Things like medical records, legal documents, government resources, and that's essentially why it's called the deep web, and that's also why it's so big. And within the deep web, you have something called the dark web, and the dark web I will be touching on a little bit later. So Tor is a deep web service. It stands for the onion router, and it is used to access parts of the deep web. It is by far the most popular deep web service. There are others out there, but a lot of them are not so user friendly or kind of difficult to use. So most people just go to the Tor network. They just because it's easy to use, it's easy to set up, and it is also a very powerful service. Because whenever you're using Tor, you are completely anonymous. Nobody really knows who you are when you're using Tor because it completely hides your identity. So essentially how it works is it takes advantage of something called onion routing, which onion routing can be thought of as layers of security, kind of like layers of an onion, hence the name onion routing. And it routes your traffic through multiple volunteer nodes. These multiple volunteer nodes are people spread throughout the world who offer their computers and servers to the Tor network for Tor users to route their internet traffic through. And like I said before, you are completely anonymous when using Tor. It masks your IP address. So whenever you're using it, your actual IP address could be 203.187.195.252, but the server that you are accessing through Tor would think that you're a 193.215.3.146. And along with keeping your anonymity, all of your internet traffic is completely encrypted. So nobody prying in, trying to see what you're doing, can make sense of any of your traffic and see what you're doing. So here's kind of a visual overlook of how Tor works. Over here we have Alice. She's currently using Tor to access Bob down here. So whenever she's using Tor, all of her internet traffic routes through these volunteer nodes right here. Usually Tor sets up about 3 volunteer nodes, and then the last node will forward her traffic through to Bob. Now, if you notice here, this red arrow right here, this is a big problem with Tor because if Bob's site does not support SSL encryption, then all of Alice's traffic right here is completely unencrypted. So anybody wanting to see what Alice is doing can pry in right here and see all of her traffic because it's completely unencrypted. So why is the Tor network so secretive? Well, Tor was originally designed for secure communications for military and intelligence agencies. It was a project started in 1995 with the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and when they finished it in 2003, they made it freely available to the public. So now you might ask, why in the world would a top secret research agency make one of their projects freely available to the public? Well, if you think about it, you got these agents over here using the Tor network, and in this scenario, they're the only ones using the Tor network. And then you have these bad guys over here. These bad guys do not like these agents. They want to find them. They want to beat them up. They want to do all kinds of bad things to them, whatever. So then these agents over here are using the Tor network to communicate with other agents. Well, these bad guys can scout around and see, oh, okay, this guy here, he's using the Tor network. He must be an agent. This guy over here, he's also using Tor. He must be an agent. Let's go find him. Let's go beat him up, make him watch bad soap operas all day or something. I don't know. So by making it freely available to the public, then you have all these people throughout the world using Tor. So these bad guys over here, they cannot pinpoint out which one are agents, because you have all these random people using the Tor network. So some of the good uses of Tor: the internet was not originally designed with privacy in mind. So Tor really helps people take back their privacy. As we all know from the Edward Snowden leak, the NSA really likes to pry in and spy on all of our stuff, find out everything about us, all that crap. So Tor really helps us fight the NSA. The NSA hates the Tor network. They're constantly trying to break it, constantly trying to find ways to spy in all of our internet traffic and see what all we're doing. But as of my knowledge, they do not have a way to break the Tor network yet. And it also allows people to communicate safely. Journalists living over in the Middle East, spying in on ISIS and getting all kinds of crazy information about them, they can safely communicate with news writers and article writers over here in the U.S. by using Tor. And law enforcement, a lot of law enforcement uses Tor for their operations. A lot of undercover agents can use Tor to safely communicate with other law enforcement agents while they're in with gangs and stuff like that. They can communicate what they're learning and all that stuff. And it also allows circumvention of censored internet. China has a very, very strict internet. For some reason, China doesn't want their residents to access the outside world. They don't want them getting into things like Facebook and seeing news articles and stuff like that. So China residents can use Tor to circumvent that censored internet. Tor allows them to access the outside world. They can access things like Facebook and news articles and Twitter and all kinds of stuff like that by using Tor. So now, more of the bad uses of Tor. This is the darknet. This is the darknet that I was mentioning earlier. So in the darknet, you have things like drug sites, like the infamous Silk Road. A lot of people know about the Silk Road, which is actually now taken offline. The FBI has finally taken down the Silk Road. So, and along with drug sites, you also have illegal weapon sites that sell things like military-grade weapons and rocket launchers, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And also, there's a lot of this. You have a lot of stolen personal identification, people who steal credit card numbers from online shoppers and ATMs and stuff like that. They will dump their credit card numbers onto the darknet. And bank accounts, there's a lot of bank account numbers on there. And whenever you hear about a hacker group taking down a company's server and stealing a whole bunch of information, usually they will dump all of that stolen information onto the dark web. And the darknet even gets worse than that. So in the deepest, darkest parts of the darknet, you have these things like child porn and hitmen for hire, and there are a lot of more disturbing things that I don't really feel like are necessary to mention here, just due to the very nature of them. So I will not mention them. But essentially, with the darknet, if you don't want to see it, then don't go looking for it. And this hitmen for hire, they're mostly scams. If you go to the Hidden Wiki, you'll find hitmen for hire sites. A lot of them probably don't even work, and they're really just mostly scams. They're just a load of crap. And a lot of these sites, they're mostly on a need-to-know basis. So essentially, you have to know somebody who knows the .onion URL to access these sites. And even if you do access these sites, you'll probably have to have a user account to even get into the content, to see the content. So the Tor network overall, it's mostly beneficial to its people, really, because it's used by a lot of law enforcement and military, or soldiers over there in the Middle East fighting ISIS. They can come back, they can use Tor to safely communicate with other military officers over there and communicate with people over here in the U.S. And like I said, a lot of journalists use it over there in the Middle East. They can safely communicate what they're learning about to people over here in the U.S. and stuff like that. And the best thing of all, it helps take back our privacy. It really helps us to fight the NSA spying. And I really like that about the Tor network. So, keep calm and use the Tor browser. That is all. Thank you.